Rev up your engines! Alright, Honda CR-V. People are always looking for SUVs. This is a 2003 that the owner bought 15 years ago. Honda sold millions of them. Check this one out. What does it have on it? 225,000 miles. We check under the hood. Got the iVTEC 2.4 four-cylinder engine. Still pretty quiet. In all honesty, it's quieter than my Celica. That has 240,000 miles. Let's face the facts. Honda knows how to make engines. They're probably the #1 engine manufacturers on the planet. And everybody's looking for an SUV. This is pretty much their middle one. It's bigger than the original 1996, but it's smaller than the 2021. They keep making them bigger. And of course, their sales keep going up too. The first year they sold CR-Vs in the United States, they sold 66,000 of them. Last year they sold 384,000 of them. They're popular, they keep selling them. Now, being an 03, this is a more basic bones car. It does have a tachometer, gas gauge, DVD player. This is a pretty basic car. It's got kind of a tartan insert in the door panel. Comfortable enough seats. Then we go to the back, plenty of room in the back seat. Then we go to the trunk. Look at all the space here. These things are made for hauling stuff. And me personally, I like to swing outdoors. Easy access. You're not gonna whack your head. It's not gonna fall down. It opens sideways. I think it's a great design. Now I do have to say, when I open the hood, I can smell oil, but it's no big deal. All it is a leaking valve cover gasket. $20 part. You can change it yourself in half an hour. It's still the original gasket, so you can't complain. 200-something thousand miles, all these years. Stuff you can easily fix yourself. And being a Honda, everything still works on it. The power steering still works. The air conditioning still works. The power windows still work. It doesn't have a sunroof. This is a bare bones one. But that's actually an advantage of an older CR-V. Less of the high-tech crap that new ones have. High-tech stuff always breaks. Eventually, costs a fortune to fix. I don't mind having a rear hatch that you open by hand. It doesn't automatically open. Because it doesn't automatically break when it gets older either. And certainly it's an older SUV, but this iVTEC Honda engine has plenty enough horsepower. This thing gets 26 miles a gallon on the highway. And sure, a brand new Honda is rated at 34 miles a gallon on the highway, but that's rating them. From my experience actually driving them, it's more like 32, so the difference isn't that much. So I'll take it for a spin. Sure, some goofy things like the automatic power window. It goes up and down. It doesn't go the whole way automatically anymore. You gotta hold your finger on the whole way to make it close. But whoop-de-doo. It's a minor flaw. Who cares about that? All I care about is this. Starts right up and we put it in reverse. Look at that. It hardly shakes at all. Now it's reasonably high up in the air, so you feel nice and safe. Still rides pretty good, even though it's got the original struts still on it. When we step on the gas, it's spinning those tires, even with an automatic transmission. Still corners quite well. That's the advantage of a smaller SUV. They handle quite a bit better, especially with the Honda suspension system. And being a lighter vehicle, you hit those brakes, stops pretty fast. Listen to this baby shift. You can't even really feel it shifting with all these miles. That simply little 2.4 Honda engine, smooth, reliable, gets good gas mileage, and with that transmission, still shifting smooth with all that mileage on it. People a lot of times whine about Honda automatic transmissions, but in these CR-Vs, especially the older ones, I've yet to see any real problems in them. Now you take a 2021 Honda CR-V. It doesn't have this reliable 2.4 liter engine. It has a 1.5 liter engine. It's turbocharged as gasoline direct injection. All that extra pressure, they're gonna wear out faster. I don't expect to see a lot of them that have 230,000 miles on them still going smooth. Some of the Honda 1.5 liter turbocharged engines have had oil dilution problems. These old 2.4s, they had no problems with oil dilution. And here's the strange thing. This old engine, 03, puts out 160 horsepower, where the turbocharged one puts out 180. It's not that different. Now, size-wise it is. You got 1.5 liter in a new one versus 2.4. So it's a much smaller engine that puts out a little bit more horsepower. But they're gonna wear out faster. They don't have plain old steel wheels like this. But steel wheels have an advantage. You hit something with the steel wheel that gets bent, you can get a hammer and smash it back out and drive drive down the road. You hit an alloy wheel, it will break, and you'll have to buy a very expensive alloy wheel. There is an advantage to steel wheels. Now, the funny thing about this CRV is, the lady brought it over here because her mechanic was saying, oh, you should probably buy another car. I don't know where his head is at, but this thing is still in excellent shape. There's no reason to buy another car when this one runs so good. I've seen him with 500,000. This isn't even halfway there yet. Sure, the headlights are faded plastic, but you can either polish them up, like I did with my wife's Lexus. For a few $100, buy brand new assemblies. They look beautiful. Now, considering the price of a new 2021, they start at like $26,500. So putting a few $100 cosmetics into this thing sounds like a wise investment to me. I'm doing an all-module scan now of the whole system. Granted, it'll take a while because it's an old car. It's an old 03. They're a lot slower, but it's doing a lot of checking. It's been about 5 minutes and it's still only 26% done, but it does a thorough job. But it's getting there. It's at 94%. 96. It's almost done. No trouble codes. No trouble codes? 3 out of 4 no trouble codes? 4 out of 4 no trouble codes. Yes, it may be an old vehicle, but it shows how well Honda made them back in the day. 2003. This is still an insanely reliable small SUV. So now you know the truth on how well made these old CRVs are. And since I'm giving you free information all the time, I'm also going to give you a free scan tool. To have a chance to win, place a clean, non-offensive comment on the YouTube comments below, and a winner will be chosen randomly by computer to get a great scan tool so you can learn how to fix your own cars, or at least be able to check out a used one you're thinking about buying without having to pay a mechanic. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Jermaine Delpher 23 says, I got a 2007 Nissan Altima. Front right caliper is stuck after I bled the brakes. I replaced all 4 brake hoses. I bled all the wheel cylinders. Now the front passenger caliper locks up. So I jacked the car up and the wheel wouldn't budge. When I cracked the bleeder on the caliper, it freed itself. Do I need to replace the caliper? No, that's not your problem. Here's the thing. Let's say your caliper itself was sticking on. That means the caliper's got a problem. If you jack it up and it won't turn the wheel, you know that caliper's stuck on. But when you open the bleeder valve and then it freed up and spun, that means it's not the caliper. It means it's getting pressure to the caliper, which is causing the problem. For some reason, it's still sending pressure. If the caliper itself needed replacing, when you crack the bleeder valve, it would still be stuck because the piston was stuck. It's just getting pressure. So you said you bled it, but it's a 2007 Altima. I'm assuming it has anti-lock brakes. You cannot correctly bleed that system unless you have a Nissan dealer level scan tool that does all the tricks to bleed the air out. Otherwise, you're going to get air in your ABS module, and that can make it lock on like that. It's not. You said you replaced the all 4 brake hoses, so it's not the brake hose. It could stick on and do that. It's still getting pressure, so the only thing that can be wrong is your ABS module has air in it, and that's causing it. Or maybe it was sticking before because your brake master cylinder wasn't releasing, and it's bad. You might have to replace the brake master cylinder. But I'd have a pro bleed it first, because if they weren't sticking before, I could see no reason that just putting the hoses and bleeding it is going to make the master cylinder go bad. That would be air getting in the ABS module and forcing it to do that. But it's not the caliper. The caliper, it would stick, and then when you open the bleeder, it would still stick. It doesn't, so it shows it's getting pressure. When you open up, the pressure's gone, so it's not a bad caliper. Fort Murphy says, I'm replacing the headlight assemblies on a 2015 RAV4. Should I disconnect the battery? Well, it's a RAV4, and understand that when your car's turned off and the headlights are turned off, you don't really have to worry about doing any kind of damage. You would just unplug the plugs. They're not going to touch anything, and remove the headlight assembly. You're not going to really hurt anything. You really don't need to disconnect the battery. I don't when I'm working on them, if I'm changing the headlight assemblies or even the bulb. As long as the car's turned off and the switch is turned off, all you're doing when you take the bulbs out is pull on the little connectors, unconnect it, and pull the bulb out and plug another one in. If you're changing the whole assembly, yeah, you got to take the front bumper off and stuff, but nothing's powered, and the only things that are plugged in are plastic connectors, and if you unplug them, they're plastic connectors. They don't touch anything. They're inside. They're female. The male parts are on the headlamp bulbs themselves, so it's not going to touch anything. You don't have to unplug them in the first place. That's only for stuff that, hey, if you got a live wire and it touches the frame, boom, it can short stuff out. There's nothing that's going to touch anything that's live because the connectors are all internal female connectors. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.